not used to ad-libbing.
Dennis Jr. here. We're in the recording studio this morning talking about capos. And I notice you use a capo like almost all the time. Why is that?
Okay, well, I don't use it all the time, but probably 90%.
Isn't a capo a crutch? I hear a lot of pro players saying a capo's a crutch.
You can call it a crutch. I could call this whole guitar a crutch, but it makes sound.
Because it's easy to play?
Well, no, it's easy to play, but still, I couldn't make this out of a broom. I need a guitar. It's a crutch. A capo is a tool that we add to the instrument. Now, let me name just some of the things that are an advantage. If you're not playing with a capo, that means the string is longer. Okay.
You mean from the nut to the saddle?
To the saddle.
The two white pieces, okay.
And the longer it is, sure, it's bigger and it's bassier, and the string fans out further.
You know, we're running like a 25.5-inch scale length is what that's called. You know,
right.
nut to saddle. So we're running a 25.5 on our full-size guitars.
So when you try to hold these strings, they're fanning out further, and they tend to be more elusive. And the capo tightens that down. Now, a couple of things happen. Now, that's what makes this so exciting as far as a tool is concerned. The shorter you go, the tighter this whole situation gets. The string doesn't fan out as far, so it's easier to get a hold of. Now,
hold on. You say when you're saying elusive earlier,
it gets away from you.
The string does?
Yeah, the string does.
I know you're going to have more fan the longer the length, the scale length. You're going to have more fan of the string. Right. Does this mean that when you put on the capo that, well, naturally it's going to bring down your string heights even further?
Well, let me get into this and show you. And when we're done with this, you'll want to use a capo because it becomes so valuable as a tool. We're not cheating or anything. No. I could say, yeah, well, I was cheating. I rode in a car. I didn't walk. Well,
just makes you better.
You know,
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of things start to happen when you use a capo. You get a varied length, so the fan gets closer, and your instrument gets easier to play in a couple different ways. It's not fanning out as much, so you can get a hold of it.
I mean, the string is not fanning as much. When you pluck the string, it fans
out and then it dies down.
And the bigger string is always I always taught when I was setting up building guitars that the biggest string, the big E string, fans the most because it's the heaviest. Right. You pluck that in, and that's the ones we always set by in the setup.
It moves, it vibrates back here, and the face moves. Put a sound hole there because, well, you get vibrations off the face here, but you also get vibrations off the inside, and it comes out of the sound hole. Just many of the dozens of sciences that take place here. That's always what's excited me about guitars, because there's so much science. You couldn't explain the amount of science that's in a guitar. And the sciences are always the closest thing to pure magic, because things happen because of the science. And I don't care whether you're riding bicycle or whatever. If you know the science involved, you can make things easier. You can make them look different. You can make them feel different.
Well, let's get back to the capo part of it here. Though.
But the capo, again, is a tool. It clamps on. And if you have a good one, there are good and bad ones. I experienced one the other day that just wasn't worth a damn. And it didn't clip on the neck right, and it scratches your neck, and there's a lot of things.
Doesn't it bend your strings out of tune?
No, it doesn't. Well, of course, you have to watch out. When you put it on, I don't want to put it on this way, so I pull the string off.
Oh, and I can't see here. Where's your hand's in the way? Your right hand's in the way.
I'm sorry. But a lot of times the string will get off like that, and then you clamp it on. You have to put it on right.
And you put it on closest to where you chord the guitar. So
right, and the same science.
Your right hand's in the way. Let me see.
If I'm going to hold a note.
So right above the fret.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I always go up close this direction, not close that direction, because you'll get a buzz.
Oh, you mean just in forming chords with your fingers?
Yeah.
But as far as where to put the capo, you put the capo in the same spot, closest to
well, it depends
the
on
fret.
what I want. Some songs that I play, and I play full arrangements, and we'll get into that.
But you play primarily fingerstyle. I hear you all the time.
Yeah, because it's a whole song. I don't have to depend on a bass player or a drummer. I become a
that's your fingerstyle system, though, and that it allows you to play the full song. So and that's another
chord structure, bass, rhythm, and all the.
That's a whole other video and language and.
And I've done.
And we'll talk about that and other stuff.
But in this situation, the capo enables me. If you listen to the difference in sound, now we can put the capo way up high. Sounds almost like a ukulele. It's a totally different sound. Now down here, well, we play it in an open fashion. Big bassy sound.
You seem to get a bigger sound without the capo.
Oh, you would. But the shrillness reaches out too. And the bottom line, what makes it exciting, it sounds different here, it sounds different here, here. What I'd always do with my arrangements, play the whole thing, lead line, chord structure, bass, and rhythm, but some songs you want to sound a certain way, so I put them up higher. Okay.
Oh, and I used to hear when I was young, when you were always playing, you say, well, my strings are getting old, so I'm using the. Well, back in the day, we didn't have a whole lot of.
I didn't even think of that just now.
We didn't have a lot of money back. I just remember that he was always trying to conserve on strings. Yeah. And so
what I'd do, I'd start down here, and the minute I move up, that's like a new string.
Well, how's it a new? I don't understand. How's it a new string?
Because you're capoing off the old string.
So usually you play most of your songs. You would play up on the first 3 frets. And
in many cases,
so you would get a lot of your hand oil and dirt that wear strings out on the first 3 frets.
And then they get muffled. Now, when a string gets muffled, it tends to fan differently, and it fans varied in pitch.
And this is why
scary.
And this is why when it fans differently, we'll have customers call saying my strings are buzzing. Yeah. And what I say, first thing to do is change out the strings because it's those oils and dirt.
Oil. They get so dirty. Now, a tire on a car will spin a certain way at a certain age of the tire. As the tire gets older, naturally, the weight dispersion isn't the same it used to be. So at higher speeds, it'll start to wiggle around.
So it's a balance thing again.
It's dangerous, right?
Your tires get balanced. Your strings get old, and when they get old, meaning they get old from oil and dirt from your fingers, and they don't fan evenly, and that causes a buzz. Exactly. And it's going to cause a buzz first on a guitar that's more precisionally set up low.
Exactly.
I have customers call me and say, well, my Fender isn't buzzing yet. And I say, how do you like playing your Fender? Well, I hate playing that guitar because the strings are sky high off the neck. Our guitars are more precision. I always say it's like more really precision car, high-end sports car. They need a little more maintenance sometimes. I don't think ours do. I don't see that.
Well, see, the capo comes in, too, in the fact that we're going to a different area. In other words...
But back to our point is, you're blocking off, by using the capo, you could get more out of these strings. Because you usually play on frets 1, 2, and 3, and you got dirt on those strings now. Now we're going to capo up.
4, that's more dead string back here, and all that's left is the new
string.
So
put on the capo at 4 there, just as an example. So we're no longer using the strings up on those first 3. Okay. And now you're playing here. Now you say, we were talking about this the other day too. We were even talking about building some really short, a short scale full-size guitar, meaning you get the full-size box of this ZAD 80 CE, not our smaller guitars. You get the full-size box, but a shorter neck. Now, what would be the advantage? Because I say, go for a shorter neck guitar. You don't need to use the capo at all in it.
The frets are closer together, and if some of the hardest chords to play are like, there are actually chords out there that stretch from 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5.
Okay, so you're talking like 5-fret chords here are going to be easier because I'm looking just right here. Your frets are closer together naturally in that area.
There you go.
So you like playing certain songs also using the capo.
The tone changes and the playing ease changes.
Okay, and it's also a little bit wider there too. The neck gets a little wider.
That's right.
The fretboard
so the string stance changes. The strings here are pretty wide. Back here, they're really quite close together. So down here, certain chords are going to be harder to play. Up here, Some will be easier and some will be harder, depends. So certain songs use particular chords. I end up not only changing the tone, which is exciting. Some are good, some are bad. You have to call it, the judgment there. And so some play easier with the capo, some play harder with the capo. Depends on which chords are in that song. So I would choose the capo position according to the way it plays the best and the way it sounds the best.
And I noticed in your song arrangements and your lessons, you always have capo on this fret, capo on this fret.
Exactly. So to remember.
And you're doing that because not only do you like the sound of it, in that maybe capoed off,
but the playing
ease is also easier for that song. So it's a twofold thing.
Right.
And if your strings are old in frets 1, 2, and 3,
right?
Oh, great.
Okay, but some songs too require more of a length of a fretboard. So if I'm capoing way up here and I need a longer fretboard, I only go up to here. So if that one particular song has a wide span of different things that I do, then I probably ought to put my capo down here or not at all. And again, my tones are changing. The playing ease or lack thereof playing ease is changing.
So even although our guitars are easier to play, they're going to be easier to play yet using a capo. Right. Because it's going to bring it down still another level.
Right. Let me throw another thing in here.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea. Evans and I,
in
the year 25, when we worked on stage, we wanted as wide a span as necessary from one guitar to the other. I've seen so many times when two guitars are together and they're doing the same thing. What a waste. I don't
understand. You're talking about the sound?
Yeah, so they're doing the same thing together.
So, and you're saying by changing one of the guitars up using a capo?
It will get the harmonic range will all change. You'll have some real high notes on one guitar, and the other guitar, maybe you're playing in an open fashion, get some real gutsy bass.
So you're saying it blends better.
It's more colorful.
So you guys in bands, I guess that's a helpful hint if you got two guitar players.
See, we were only two guys. So you perform for 3 or 4 hours in a night, so 15-minute breaks in between, whatever. But that's a long span of different songs. You can't play the same song over and over again.